Hello, hello. Welcome to the Mystic Maven Show. And we've got a beautiful conversation this evening. My three Mystic Maven sisters, a little bit of my crazy dog in the background. But tonight, Claudia is going to be talking with us about heart-centered meditation and the path to oneness. So I'm really excited to hear about that. I personally am Kathy Basel, and I live in Denver, Colorado, a transformational life coach working with women in their 50s to find that next exciting chapter. I use energy healing as part of this path back to finding our authentic selves so that we can be the best and brightest expression of who we came to be. So that's me in a nutshell. I'll pass it over to Miss Carol.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Kathy. I'm a spiritual teacher and transformational astrological counselor, and I work with people that are going through anxiety, depression, and grief and loss. And take it away, Joanna.
Hello, everyone. I am looking forward to tonight's meditation and oneness. Yes. I am a spiritual, holistic, intuitive teacher, and I just love everything spiritual and mystical. What I do is I use Chinese practices as well as spiritual practices just to complete you and getting to know you. So as we get to know us tonight in oneness, I like to welcome my Mystic Maven sister, Claudia.
Thank you, Joanna. And ladies, it is such a pleasure to be here. My name is Claudia Rocafort, and I am one of the four Mystic Mavens. Thrilled to be here with you. And we're going to be talking tonight a little bit about heart-centered meditation and the path to oneness. And before I go there, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am a business coach and executive coach. And this part of me is, I say I keep coming out of the closet because a lot of people didn't know that I spent the last 35 years of my life learning different spiritual modalities and using different ways of healing, new age, readings, divination, everything that I could get my hands on. And in that process, I met a phenomenal teacher called Rayleigh Macy, who I met in New York many, many years ago and who changed my life. And she is the one that taught me how to do heart-centered meditation. For starters, one of the things that is really interesting to learn, and we'll get into all the spiritual aspect, but just to get a little bit into the science of it for a moment, the heart is the most powerful source of electromagnetic energy in the entire human body. It produces the largest rhythmic electromagnetic field in any of the organs. And the heart's electromagnetic field is about 60 times greater in amplitude than the electrical activity generated by the brain. That's pretty powerful. Most people don't stop to consider that or know that. We know about all of our neurons firing and being able to, through that electric connection, right? Everything happens in our bodies, right? But people don't realize that the electromagnetic field of the heart is that much more important than the brain. And what ends up happening, and it's fascinating, is that the brain, actually the heart, the electromagnetic field of the heart can expand usually 3 to 4 feet around us. So when you walk into a room where you feel somebody and you feel their energy or you feel their mood, how many times has that happened to you, right? That you come into contact or close with someone and you don't know why, but you can feel something about them. You feel their beautiful energy or great vibration, or you feel somehow they're off. Literally, our electromagnetic field changes according to our emotions. And so if you see some of our previous shows and episodes, we talk about raising your vibration, right? How that higher energy is parallel to kind of higher states of emotion, joy, peace, love, gratitude. Gratitude is the closest, the highest in vibration next to enlightenment, right? So whenever we want to start shifting that energy, we can look at, okay, where am I? What am I feeling right now? Acknowledge where I am. And today, through this heart-centered meditation, I want to guide all of us for a moment to look at how we can use this method to heal and to really work through some of the deep grief or the deep childhood issues that we may have, and how we can bring that into the oneness, which is the love that heals everything, and where we are connected to all that is. So, telling you a little bit about Rayleigh Macy, who was my mentor and my spiritual guide, and who changed my life. We used to work on this once a week, every week for 9 years. And it's a process of acknowledging sort of where you're at, just an awareness of where you're at and what's coming up for you emotionally. And then we would go through a process of meditation, expanding our hearts. And I tend to be very mental. So I would always want to analyze it and understand it and find ways around.
You're
And
the only one.
exactly, right? So, and she would just remind me, Claudia, it's not about the vision, and it's not in your head, and it's not about understanding it. It's about trusting and surrendering into your heart space, into that vibrational level of your heart where you're feeling, not thinking. And so I would like to obviously have a conversation about this and about everybody's experience in the group of what this means to you. Have you experienced anything like it? And depending on where our conversation goes, we might do a little guided meditation, or somebody might want to volunteer and might want to clear something, and we can share with our viewers what that process is like. So, ladies, have any of you experienced heart-centered meditation or healing? And how does this make you feel?
I think you should start us off with an experience so everybody
Yeah.
can know exactly what you're talking about.
All right, fantastic. Then let's dive right in. Does anybody have something that has come up that's uncomfortable recently, or that you'd like to clear or work through? And you can have something and not want to necessarily.
I'm gonna say abandonment for me.
Okay, beautiful.
I'm gonna say I feel like that's what came
Has
up.
come up for you recently.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Joanna, for sharing that. Kathy, Carol, anything that's come up for you recently?
For me, I feel like everything, it's kind of like an astrological thing I'm moving through right now, but everything is being the opposite of what it once was. So everything is changing. So there's that sense of uncertainty and I wouldn't even say fear, because I feel like I'm sitting with it pretty well, but there's just I'm constantly having to remind myself to be okay with the uncertainty. So
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
Carol,
ditto.
anything for you?
Ditto.
Ditto? Okay, fantastic. So one of the beautiful things that happens when we do this kind of work is that what comes up for one is usually something that touches every single one of us present. And those people who are going to benefit the most from clearing this will be the ones watching, will be the ones showing up, will be the ones who are touched by the experience. And so if you're watching us today, I hope that you can surrender and allow yourself to go through this process with us, and trust and allow, and don't ask how. All right. So ladies, I'm going to ask you all to close your eyes and take a deep breath through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Take another deep breath through your nose and exhale through your mouth, opening and releasing. And one more time, deep inhale and exhale. And imagine emptying everything from your body like a balloon. And now regulating your breath. And as you regulate your breath, when you've done that last exhale all the way through, you may be more aware of your heartbeat. It becomes a little bit louder. And I want you to place both hands on your heart for a moment and just connect with that heartbeat. Where you're at, right here, right now. And imagine just clearing your mind and being fully present with your breath and your heartbeat. And a lot of times when these feelings come up that are sometimes uncomfortable, like the feeling of abandonment or the fear of the unknown, maybe it's not even a fear, it's just discomfort of change. It's that not knowing what will come next, right? These are some of the things that have been presented for us to clear tonight. So imagine, and this is going to be the way that I suggest that you do this personally, but also as a group. Joanna, I want you to feel what part of you is feeling the abandonment. And as you just start to question where in your body, where in your heart, where in your life, I want you to imagine, is it an inner female or is it an inner child? Is she young? Is she you at a certain age that felt that first pain, that first fear of abandonment, and what that experience was like? And if you feel called to do so, voice it, share it out loud. If you don't want to, that's perfectly okay. If you're aware whether it's an inner female, if it's a part of you as an adult that has been left in separation from the oneness, and that illusion of pain and that moment of fear or sadness or grief that produced this feeling of abandonment. And I want you to connect with that part of you. Same thing, Carol and Kathy, with that feeling of change, that possible discomfort, or that question in the unknown, that uncertainty of what comes next, of what is possibly the best path for you, what is for your highest purpose right now. And I want you to open your hands, release them gently on your lap or on the table in a position to receive, and imagine your heart, that electromagnetic field that pours out of you and comes around you in a circle, starts to expand and grow from your heart outward. And imagine just a beautiful, bright, golden light, or a beautiful, bright green light, whichever feels more supportive to you right now. Your highest self knows. And imagine this light expanding through every cell in your body, through every nerve, every muscle, relaxing and expanding all of your being, your chest, your thighs, your feet, your arms, your neck, through your crown, down your fingers, down your spine, and radiating from within you, expanding outward and filling your being with a feeling of infinite love. This is where you connect to source. It's not outside of you, it's within you. You are the infinite love. You are the source of all that is. And in this space, you can ask your heart, what am I meant to learn from this right now? From this feeling of abandonment, from this inner child or this inner female, from the part of me that is experiencing uncertainty. In the truth of who we are, everything is connected. It is timeless. It is you. And in your heart, your knowingness, your higher self, your infinite self can connect to all that was, is, and ever will be. Allow yourself to continue to expand. And can you look at that part of yourself that has been somehow in separation, experiencing this illusion or belief in the truth of who we are pure love. But in manifested form, we are separate. And we feel the illusion of separation. In our hearts, we can connect to the truth of who we are again. And we can let that truth and that feeling expand and permeate through everything around us. Can it expand into your whole home, or maybe just the room? Or can you see that light and feel that light expanding from within you and connecting to every soul? And expand to maybe cover your city, the state, the country, the globe, the universe. In this place, being the infinite love that you are, you can see that part of you that is holding the illusion of separation, the fear of the unknown, the feeling of abandonment, the grief of loss, the fear of what may come. And ask in your heart if you are willing to bring that part of you back into wholeness, into the oneness that you are. Are you willing to love yourself that much? That much more right now, to love yourself, to receive the peace, the love, the truth of who you are, and be able to transcend the feelings that this inner child or inner female is presenting. So that she can be integrated back into the wholeness, back into the oneness that she really is with you and all that is. And take a few minutes of silence to feel this process, to feel this inner child or inner female, to feel the love, as she releases the misunderstanding or the illusion of separation, as she walks into the light in your heart and becomes one with you. And imagine just setting an intention in your heart to allow this integration to continue for as long as it needs to, easily and effortlessly, expanding the truth of who you are, the love that you are, the oneness that you are. Is anyone experiencing an inner female or an inner child that needs support at the moment? And just set your intention and willingness, ask your heart if you're willing to see if there's anything else for you to clear today in this meditation, in this moment. Is your higher self inviting you to look at any other aspect of you? Mhm. And I invite you to keep this feeling of expansion. Keep this largeness within you. Even as you start to wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, start coming back into your body. And still with your eyes closed, just notice, how do you feel? If at any point during this exercise you feel a little lightheaded or you feel a little headache, it's just an invitation to expand your heart even more. Feel really grounded and let all this energy support you. And all the love in your heart, providing an opportunity for you to love even more aspects of you and more of the truth of who you are. And when you feel ready, start coming back and connecting with the here and now. And let that resonance just sit in your heart space. And welcome back, ladies.
Beautiful.
Mm,
To me, it's always astonishing at how quickly, you can get into your heart space and feel the frenetic mental energy begin to melt away. So yeah, thank you.
right. And the chatter and the judgment, all that in that space can just subside. Thank you, Kathy. Does anybody have something they'd like to share about their experience?
I felt a good release.
Beautiful.
I did. I felt a good release.
How would you describe it, Joanna? How would you describe that release? If you don't mind.
How would I describe it? What's the best way to describe it? It's almost like, so I've been working on this inner child for a while. This is not like today. So I guess when it's almost like a child that that's falling and it's like they're caught. Like, something catches you.
Yep.
Or I don't know. I think about being thrown up as a kid, and then my dad used to catch me up in the air. So it's like once you get caught, it's like, oh, thank God you caught me. That's the release.
Oh, wonderful.
That's the release.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So imagine you now have the ability and the strength and the knowing to catch yourself, to catch your child through this exercise. And this is something that we can repeat for ourselves anytime we need it. And as we do, our energy expands, shifts, things begin to heal, literally, physically in our bodies. Whenever we experience this in someone else, we can ask permission for them and talk them through it and ask whether they're willing to allow us to accompany them in healing this in them. And it's a really wonderful, powerful exercise where we can heal anything that comes up and everything that comes up. I'll share one of the really toughest experiences for me with this process with my spiritual teacher. After September 11th and losing my brother in the towers, I was doing a lot of inner work to heal that for myself, to heal that for my family, and to heal that for everyone else who was touched by it. And I remember really turning around and saying, okay, now bring bin Laden into the truth of who you are and into the love that you are. Bring the people on the plains into your heart and bring them into that space of healing and of unconditional love that you are. And boy, was it tough at times. At times I had a lot of resistance. At times I was like, I don't feel the love, right? And we may experience that. And if that's the case, then I invite you to look at, where's that voice coming from? Because when you're in the heart space, in the truth of who we are all one. So those voices that are experiencing separation are inner children, inner males, inner females. And when we can take a quick look and say, okay, where am I experiencing this? Where's that voice coming from? Then we can ask our hearts if we are willing to bring them into the truth of who they are too. And so that release that you shared, you felt, Joanna, that's a beautiful experience. It manifests in so many different ways, which is why there's no two alike, right? Each one of these experiences is different. Sometimes I felt tears. Sometimes I felt goosebumps throughout my body. Sometimes I felt that I was covered in light. Sometimes I felt I was leaving my body. So I would love to invite all of you to continue to share and to notice two things. One, be very gentle with yourself when you do these processes afterwards. Drink lots of water. Sometimes we may need a nap. If it's a big release of things that were being held in the body as well, then your body may need a nap. It may need to continue to process the healing. And the easiest way to surrender into that is through sleep. It's also wonderful to be able to do it with someone you trust and love who can hold space for you, right? As many of us do in our processes with clients. So, what I was seeing, Joanna, for you was that child in baby blue light enveloped in your heart.
Wonderful.
Beautiful.
Well, and it's beautiful. I believe, like you're saying, that the release aspect, it's actually helping to reset our nervous system. So the way I think of it is like we're walking around with low grade nervous, anxiety layered on us, and it gets layered up over time, and just, what a beautiful, quick, powerful way to get into that heart space. And to me, that's my connection point to my higher self that already knows that everything turns out okay. And that's the sense that I felt as you were walking us through that is that little voice, like you're saying, that for me it was an inner child. And I was looking back to, okay, so when was the first time I felt so? There's all that chit chat about, I'm not enough, and that self-doubt and that kind of thing. And it was a childhood time, right about, so interesting that you used the word abandonment, Joanna. That was the time that was happening for me. So yeah, so those voices of that, and then just layering in that unconditional love of course you're enough, of course, it's just a beautiful easing of that low grade nervous knot.
And it's beautiful because the way that you expressed it, Kathy, I love, it's a reset, right? We get to reset. This is the truth of who we are in that space. That's where we are our magnificent selves and what we were born to be. That's where we can create. That's where we can connect to truth. That's where we can connect to information. That's where we can ask the grand organizing design or the God of our spiritual belief to guide us and connect very powerfully with those answers.
I think
Right.
it's a great way to, it's something I do with my clients, to connect to their bodies. And really paying attention to what your body is saying. So being able to shut down your mind for a minute allows that to come up. And that's the great thing about meditation. So another thing I teach is that the heart is what connects the earth and the spiritual. So that's the chakra that connects it all together. So when you could balance that chakra and the energy that comes from it, that's like the balancing act of who we are, is balancing that energy in there. Because you never know, like I said, years and like you said, 35 years you've been practicing and doing, it's years of things we don't even know we're holding on to. I get clients on my table and they'll just start crying because you don't even realize what you're releasing when you're massaging them.
Exactly.
So it's, the release comes in so many different ways, but it's really a mind thing. So if you could get into the mind of it, so that's the mindfulness, the just in opening your heart to what you're really feeling. We kind of shed and hide what we really feel. We've been taught to do that. Don't say that. That's not nice. Don't do that. That's not, why would you say that to that person?
Mhm.
That's how I feel.
And in that heart space, we can, for a moment, also just look at we're stardust. We're part of that Big Bang, that, part of all that is. And so if we can connect on that level of I am you, you are me, we are all that is
That consciousness.
no separation. We are different manifestations of source.
And I really like how you said about bringing, Osama bin Laden into your heart space. Like there's so much divisiveness through their politics and, everything that's gone down in the last couple of years that, can you take that person who's really irking you and sit with that right in your heart space and allow yourself to also know that we are all one.
I think that's the greatest tool we learned today.
It's a stretch sometimes and it's hard. And sometimes the answer is no.
Not today, not ready yet. Sometimes, yes.
But to keep coming back and keep coming back, to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carol's awfully quiet.
Yes.
Well, I was just thinking about that, I am love. I know that I am that. That's my experience of being. But I don't necessarily feel that I have to love bin Laden, love people that do all these bad things to others, that treat others badly.
Mm-hmm.
There's an acceptance of who they are,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't have to love them for it.
Mm-hmm.
I just come from love and be with people that I know and care about and accept those that aren't in that same space where they are. So I have a little bit of a different take on it.
Absolutely. And that's absolutely very valid, Carol. We don't get to love what they do. It's very different. There's an unconditional, infinite love in the love, in being the love. And when we bless that in anything or anyone, we are giving energy to that. And so it's just an invitation not to love what they've done, but to send them love and bring them into the love that is life force. In that process, there can be some amazing release, amazing healing, and even a shift in energy for ourselves and for them, because it's all connected. So that's the invitation. It's an invitation, because we live in separation, right? The premise with this oneness is if we are one, then there is no good or bad. There is no good and evil. It doesn't exist. It's an illusion that manifests in this plane. But in the truth of who we are, there is no such thing. It's just a different facet of source. a different manifestation of all that is. And when we can start to shift and look at it from that perspective, then, as you well know, because you're our queen of grace and duality and being able to, right, look at both those sides and look at that duality and how do we integrate that in the grace, in the truth of who we are. I would love your experience on when something is playing a dichotomy for you and duality. What do you do to bring it into that oneness for yourself?
I see both sides. I
Mhm.
hold and see both sides simultaneously and make them as real as I possibly can. And when I do that, there is no conflict inside. I feel unified.
Mm. And do you find at times that you can feel or experience both within you fully?
That's what I just said.
Yeah, right. Okay. Okay. Just clarifying. All right. Perfect. So yes, you experience both fully within you
Yeah.
to be able to. Exactly. Okay. I love that. Did you have an experience during the meditation? Anything you'd like to share with us?
I felt that there was no separation, talking about separation and non-separation. I felt like I was the gold light
Mm,
and that I was part of that. So there was no separation.
love it.
That's what I was experiencing.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
There was no me,
Mhm.
if you
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
Completely. No self, no ego, no. That's ideally what we want to experience. Yeah, that's the beauty of this process. Kathy, any thoughts?
Well, yeah, because I think, what we're resisting persists. So when we come and allow ourselves to come into this space of oneness, even I like to pre-pave the day in this way by spending some time in this type of space, feeling connection with everything. And I feel like when we don't put up the walls to resist other things, then it allows the experience of life to flow so much more easily or smoothly, or when things do get rough. It's there's an undertone that's already been set for the day. So I notice that my days when I take, and it doesn't have to be long, the 10 or 15 minutes is enough to get there. But that connection to oneness also can be, we talk about, we're bringing all this esoteric knowledge into practical terms. To me, I like to think of, if I'm doing a program or something like that, to cast love out like a net, and knowing that the right people will receive that message, that tickle, and the invitation to something more. And can we recognize in that way that oneness, use oneness in a way to in our everyday kind of a thing. So.
Thank you for sharing that. That reminds me, actually, whenever I would struggle with this process, which at the beginning was often, there was a lot of stuff I needed to clean and process, right? And come to terms with, and then bring into that oneness for myself. I remember I really struggled with that, whatever we resist persists. And I remember Rayleigh telling me, imagine having it come through your heart, any processed information come through the heart, so that it can at least be lit by that energy of unconditional love. And so in that willingness to just, even if it felt outside of me, even if I couldn't fully integrate it or really bring it into that heart space, if I could sift through all the information through the heart, it would shift automatically. I could look at it differently. It would shed a different light on it. And so it was a question of, sometimes it was levels of, what am I willing? And I would just need to ask my heart, am I willing to do this right now? Am I willing to take this to another step? Am I willing to release the story or the illusion or the vision or the perception I have about this, so that I can bring it into the truth. And that was super powerful. That was helpful. Not always easy to deliver.
Yeah.
But
And I think that's super important for us to presence, because, you know, people start out and I think they can try it out a couple things and I haven't done it right and give up. It's like, no. Oh, that is the path, you know, the all the chit chat, the times when you can't get that mental chatter kind of silenced is actually part of the practice. It's like, that's where I am today. And there will be no other moment like this moment now. So what will the next moment be like? Just sit with the curiosity, come back to it. And over time, the ruffled edges, I believe, get to start being softened. So it's not so dramatic, the shifts between the dramatic time, the crazy times, and the ones that are centered and flowy.
I think that's really important, a point you started to make, Kathy, with regards to meditation in general. There's often a step missed when we talk about meditation and quieting the mind. Well, the part that isn't talked enough about, I think, is the fact that it amplifies the chatter, it amplifies the noise and what's in the mind. And I don't think that point is made often enough, because people tend to, that's what causes people to say, I can't do that.
Right.
They have to know that, yes, all that chatter, all that noise is going to be amplified. It has to be, in order to be seen for what it is. Right? And so when we can accept that as part of the process, like you're saying, then we know that, okay, I'm on the right track here.
Right.
If it's amplified, I'm on the right track.
Yeah. And then you begin to recognize that you are not the thought. The thoughts are happening. You got lots of them.
That's even a leap in and of itself.
well, you're not that chatter, right? You can observe the chatter. And so all of a sudden you get to begin to see, wait, what is the chatter trying to tell me? It's an invitation, right? For me to see where I'm at with my heart, with my soul, with my spirit, with my body.
And the key is not to do anything with it, because we're so conditioned to have to do something with it, to try and get rid of it, to try and think about it, to avoid.
I don't have to fix it. What?
Right. No, just be with it.
Exactly.
And that happens from there.
And that's the quiet, the mind. I think that's the part everyone plays on, is because your mind is never really quiet.
Rarely.
Even when you, it's, I mean, even when I'm in meditation, there's thought.
Okay.
So that's what I mean. It's just observing the thoughts. When you become more one with the thoughts, or more, but it's never really quiet.
It can.
And I think that's what people actually look for, is that quietness. The quietness is the peace of the thoughts that you're having, not fighting them anymore, not figuring out anything, not the notness of it is the quietness. When you realize that I'm going to have this thought, or because most of the times I do my meditations with sound. So I do have sound, whether it's my sound bowls or whether it's megahertz playing behind, like there's sound, and I just feel like there's a consciousness that's always there, that is never quietness. And I think that's what we look for, is this still quietness that is not really achievable because it's never just totally quiet. Like, even if you pay attention, the quietness is sometimes I hear the birds, or I can hear that, but it's a sound that's there. So I think that moment of when we say we're certain, your mind quiets, it never really, I think that's the myth that we're looking for, is that you're not supposed to hear anything.
Well, I think I think that there's a distinction to be made here. I don't think we're necessarily trying to not hear anything that's outside of us on the external, but meditation, where we're going is to diminish the internal happenings, not necessarily. You're right, we can't quiet the outside, but there is a way that we can quiet the inside. I mean, I've experienced, and I'm only speaking from experience, that I have experienced no mind, literally no mind, where my mind was completely blown.
But I like the word that you use is amplify. It's like, at first the sound's going to get turned up on the mental chatter, but then we get to turn it down so that the heart chatter gets amplified, so we can hear what our soul is really speaking and has been asking for, but we've just been too distracted based on this chatter here.
And I'd like to also say sometimes we're used to hearing words in language rather than experiencing. And that might be part of the misunderstanding also. There are times that what we'd like to is quiet the words, but there is a knowingness, there's an experience that is ever present to some degree, right? But it can be absolute silent. I mean, it could be in the central sun, or it can be in the void. And when you can get to those gaps, that void of just experiencing nothingness, it doesn't always last very long. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Some people call it the gap, some people call it the void. There's different ways in different modalities of meditation, but in the process, you can make those a little bit longer. And what you were saying, Joanna, which is then we become kind of aware. There's a part of us that will become the observer, that will become aware of when that happened, kind of thing. So you'll hear the chatter and you'll hear the observer observing or listening to the chatter. And where's the chatter coming from? Is it coming from your mind? Sometimes there's a voice, because we're used to words, but it doesn't have to be a voice. It can simply be an experience. And I'd like to invite everybody to allow that experience. It doesn't have to be words, right? So it can be so many different ways and so many different things for each one of us. And that's part of the beauty. But as Carol was saying, I've definitely experienced that nothingness as well. And I'd like to keep it longer sometimes, but yes, we're looking for that. And by the same token, just because we don't experience that doesn't mean we did it wrong. So yes, be gentle with yourselves. And yes, know that all of the experiences that we're talking about, as Joanna's saying, she may very well be constantly hearing feedback from source, constantly observing different things. Sometimes it's our body and our soul showing us what we get to clear, or what we're holding, or what's holding us back. They're all gifts. There's no, right, wrong way per se. Is what we want to let you all know. And keep trying. Just keep looking for the experience of asking your heart, what am I meant to do now? What's for my highest purpose now? Part of this meditation, we would do it as a walking meditation when we got to a point where we could do a full day of this and ask ourselves, am I meant to eat? What does my body need to eat right now? When you're at that vibration for long spans of time, your body doesn't need food. You can have 4 macadamia nuts and that sustains you. Right? And next thing you're asking, okay, am I meant to go left or right in the middle of New York City with a hustle and bustle all around? and still be able to stay in that connection with your heart center and stay in that state.
To me, I think one of the greatest gifts in this is that ability to be in the observer mode and to take that into the rest of your day too. So rather than being a reaction to the circumstances that are happening to us, if you can catch, and I like the word, the gap, there's that moment, that ever so slight moment between the time that something happens, whether it's traffic or a boss or whatever that is, the trigger, if you can get to the observer mode and that peacefulness long enough to allow yourself to decide what it is you have been making it mean in the past, it would be a trigger versus what you can make it mean, that allows you to have a certain sense of acceptance or awareness of what's going on and make a different choice. So to me, that's very liberating.
Alfred Korzybski would called it the cortical thalamic pause.
Ooh,
What's that called again, please? I love it. You always have
Again?
mic drop moments.
Cortical thalamic pause
Thalamic.
between an event, something that happens, and what we do in response to it.
Mm.
so you can react differently.
Yeah.
It's great
And
for the
what-
holidays.
Probation, right?
Great for the holidays.
Preparation for family.
That's the power of presence.
Mm.
Yes, so powerful. And in the measure in which you practice, right, we get better at having these kind of longer pauses, longer experiences, and being able to even, doing this every day, even if you're hearing things and visualizing things, it's okay. Just allow, surrender, notice it, say thank you. What are you trying to show me?
Mm.
What are you trying to show me? What are you coming up for? Am I meant to release you? Am I meant to incorporate, bring you into the truth, bring you into the light?
And I
Observe.
think
Let go.
that's the key, is staying connected to you. Like as you're going through and meditation or whatever you use, is staying connected to you, asking the empowering questions. Even when you're going in meditation, there's usually something we want out of it, or something, even if it's the peace. What do I need to give myself peace today? Or what do I need to give myself love today? Like, these are questions I ask myself going into meditation. And maybe that's why I'm always hearing something, because I always go in asking a question.
There you go. So place that question in your heart,
Right? Right.
and just rather than imagine it here, put it here. Put it here. The answers are really powerful.
Yeah.
Ask it in your heart.
And they
And
always show up.
they do. They really do. And one of the things that I invite everyone in this path to oneness is the realization that, yes, in our illusion, we're all four different individuals, quote unquote, but in reality, we're all aspects and manifestations of the same energy that is that oneness. So when we're struggling with the illusion of someone else, this is a very healing process to do, to also connect with what they're trying, what are they mirroring for me? Because it's not about what is out there and what they're showing. How is that within me? Where do I get to heal that in me? Where do I get to do that differently in me? How am I holding that? That's where the healing happens. So, I think that's,
A
kind
wrap.
of wrapping up tonight. I love it.
It's a cliffhanger.
I hope you're all walking away at least with one way to resolve some inner conflict from this
That's
meditation. Today
That's
is
it.
a heart-centered meditation. May this be a path to your oneness, to your healing, to your connection with all of yourself at all times, and Just sending you all love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good one.